Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining me in the record room today for another Spinout video. Records either new to the collection or that I've been listening to recently. Extra special welcome to my new subscribers. Had quite a few with my last video. The Fred Locks Spotlight that took off and did way better than I was expecting it to. I haven't checked, but it may very well be my most viewed video ever, having started this channel up in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. And because of that interest, I've been able to pass the milestone of 2K subscribers. Big thank you. I'm humbled and honored by your support. It's a real privilege to be able to make videos about my record collection that people watch and appreciate, and to be able to share music that I care about and passionate about learning more of, and have people enjoy those as well. So thank you guys. I'm also inching very close to 300 videos on the channel, so that's another milestone on the horizon. The Fred Locks Spotlight, I'm told he himself has seen it, still listening to his music, kind of the final piece of the puzzle that allowed me to basically do his 1970s, early 1980s discography. Was the Love and Harmony album, credited to Fred Locks Meets Creators. This was just reissued for the first time by Burning Sounds, originally released circa 1978 in two versions. One called Nebuchadnezzar, King of Babylon, with a totally different cover, came out on the Revelations label out of Stoke Newington, London. That was credited to Fred Locks Meets Creators, while the one with this cover came on the Form Federation of Reggae Music imprint out of Ireland, just credited to Fred Locks alone. It's not actually technically a Fred Locks album. He does the title track in this form, Love and Harmony. All songs are matched with dub versions. Vocals are on side 1 with the matching dubs on side 2, and he returns for the middle song, Born in Slavery, Kill Nebuchadnezzar, with his group Creation Steppers, aka The Creators. They've amended the cover credit here to match the other version released on the Revelations label, but it's actually a various artists album. 12 Tribes of Israel, the House of Rastafari, artists associated with it. So you get Fred Locks, the Creation Steppers, but also drummer Albert Malawi singing Let's Get It Right over the rhythm from Barbara Ackland's Am I the Same Girl, but singing Bible lyrics from Psalm 24, and fellow 12 Tribes artist Little Roy, Touch Not My Locks. Perhaps in something of a snapshot of what the producer of Fred Locks' breakthrough hit Black Starliner intended to take on tour, a 12 Tribes showcase with Fred Locks' involvement, maybe crystallizing on record what he intended to bring on tour. Didn't quite happen. Fred Locks went off and did his own thing with Creation Steppers, so a bit of a blending of different strains of activity in Fred Locks' career going on here, but welcome reissue from Burning Sounds for the first time since the late 1970s. we've hit that sweet spot of summer, that long stretch of hot, sunny days, and a package from DJ Trish just arrived, a longtime friend of me and the channel here. Probably, I think maybe my first or second subscriber ever. DJ Trish, still out there faithfully doing her thing all these years later. Not many friends from those early days still around, but DJ Trish is one I'm proud to still call a friend, and she sent me some of her usual eclectic goodness, a map of the Jersey Shore, her stomping grounds. I'll have to keep that handy if I ever make it to your neck of the woods. Trish, never been. She sent me a letter and some stickers, which she always does, and of course her mixes, famous for her mix CDs. And here we have Beach Party 2024, always cool cover art there. And this one features the likes of the Beach Boys, Cal Chater, Inner Circle, We Are Rockers. Love that one for many, many years. You can see there, Fleetwood Mac, the Paragons, lots of reggae on here. Pablo Black, nice. Thank you, Trish. She also sent me Party Zone Dance Party 2024, similarly eclectic, Don McLean, followed by The Bubble Puppy, Tower of Power, and Brazilian group Azimuth. Very eclectic mix of genres done as only Trish can. Also looks like a Birds CD compilation there. That's cool, love the Birds. Have most of their albums on vinyl if I'm not mistaken. So thank you, as always, for your generosity, Trish. I'll put a link to her channel down below. Now, on to some records. Whenever we hit that long stretch of hot, sunny days, I'm always interested to see which particular direction my music listening will go. This year, I've been reaching into the Brazilian section, pulling a lot of those records out again. Just quickly, some records I've been listening to recently. Dom by Dom Romeo. It's a reissue of later years. Originally came out in the mid-1960s, bossa nova style. Also, Luis Bonfa's Brazilian Guitar, circa 1967, Capital. This one is arranged by Eumir Diodato. Also, Arthur Virakai, Mr. Bongo reissue. I've also been listening to Gal Costa's India, also through Mr. Bongo, and the Celia albums arranged by Arthur Virakai. But Mr. Bongo have also reissued a Brazilian album of more recent vintage that I've been listening to kind of annually in the summer in digital form. It originally came out in 2019, digital only, kind of was brought to wider attention by Anthony Fantano, I think his name is, The Needle Drop. I'd never heard of him before that. Apparently he's a big name in the blog world, music blogger, but he brought Anna Frango Eletrico's A Little Electric Chicken Heart to much wider attention. Was shown on YouTube on videos as well around that time. I've kind of been revisiting it in the summertime, but it was only available physically on CD and vinyl editions that came out in Brazil and Japan in the years in between. Hard to get, very expensive. However, Mr. Bongo have just reissued it on vinyl and CD. I got the translucent blue version. Ana Frango Eletrico was born in Rio de Janeiro, multimedia artist who also has at least one book of poems and illustrations out there. This album for me is a classic throwback to the vintage Brazilian styles of bossa nova, samba, and MPB with touches of jazz. There's full horn sections, string sections, and also updated it with some touches of modern indie chamber pop. Favorite tracks on here include the opener, Saudade, a Brazilian word, no direct translation to English, but means sweet sadness, that kind of melancholy feeling that permeates much of classic Brazilian music. Also the sensual Chocolate, which builds to kind of a slow burning chorus. Just beautiful album of modern Brazilian music. And I also got her follow-up album, 2022's, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, the Tiger album, let's call it that. This one is just on black vinyl. Still working on this one. This might be a grower. Less of the classic Brazilian styles on here to my ears. More of the dance pop, rock on here. If this album is a languid day on the beach in Ipanema, this one is more the crush of bodies at a downtown Rio club, the pulse of the music, the sweaty bodies all around you, different mood, different feeling, but very talented artist, one to check out. Big want was checked off my list recently with the surprise reissue of an album out of print since its original 1982 release. Original copies scarce, somewhat pricey nowadays. I did not think I would ever own this album, to be honest, until the Well Sharp Records label, brand new label apparently, put it out a little earlier this year, remastered by Colin Young from CY Audio. It is Junior Murvin with Bad Man Posse, produced by the great Mikey Dread, and apparently licensed from Mikey Dread's estate, he having passed away some years ago. Dread at the Controls label there. Mikey Dread's productions, he was the subject of one of my very early videos on this channel. I might have to update that topic one of these days, as his long out of print albums are slowly but surely starting to come out again, and this is one I was missing. Also one I didn't show previously on video, but just also came out not too long ago, was Dub Catalog by Mikey Dread, reissued by Music on Vinyl. Similarly, out of print since its original release, and in surprise news, Music on Vinyl are also doing their own version of this album. After 40 years, you're going to have your choice of 2 versions to choose from. Never rains but pours, apparently, and hopefully Music on Vinyl get around to his other long out of print albums, Dub Merchant and Jungle Signal, and then maybe I'll be able to pretty much complete his discography. The great Mikey Dread. Junior Murvin, meanwhile, was a singer with a high falsetto, very influenced by Curtis Mayfield. He had been through various producers in various groups through the 1960s, had a hit with Solomon for Derek Harriott before taking a break from the pressures of life in Kingston, retreating to the town of Port Antonio, where Mikey Dread was actually also from. Focusing on his songwriting, he was in a group called Young Experience that he performed with, but they would ultimately disband, and then he would seek out Lee Perry, who would record his Police and Thieves, a mega hit for Junior Murvin and Lee Perry, a cornerstone of Perry's Black Ark studio that gave its title to Junior Murvin's album Police and Thieves, was one of the signature songs of the Notting Hill Carnival in London in 1976, was covered by The Clash on their debut album, but a second album for Lee Perry did not materialize, apparently still in the vaults somewhere, to the best of my knowledge. Meanwhile, down the road, Murvin would link up with Mikey Dread. By now, Mikey Dread was hitting a sweet spot working with the Roots Radix band, who kind of ruled reggae music in the early part of the 1980s, and Mikey Dread's productions had a different and unique permutation of their sound specific to his productions. Junior Murvin's high falsetto always working well with that counterpart of very heavy rhythms, that high falsetto of his and the crushingly heavy dub inflected rhythms. This is a showcase style LP, all the vocals followed by dubs, including the title track itself, which I have had on the original 12-inch single for a while. Dread at the controls sleeve. These things are always a wonder. You got to read all the fine print, 45 revolutions per minute if you spin it. And that's original Dread at the controls 12-inch with the vocal and some dub versions. Bad Man Posse, but I did not think I would ever own the LP. Junior Murvin had a very socially conscious style of songwriting, but also very tender, sentimental or nostalgic style to his themes. Guitar reminiscence on his early days in music, his first guitar being bought for him, and encouragement to continue in music, while Brixton Posse is an alternative version of the title track. What about the Bad Man Posse? What about the Good Man Posse? Classic from Junior Murvin, back in print after 40 years. '24 has already been quite the year for reissues of long sought after LPs back in print after many, many years. Another one was scratched off my list with the arrival earlier this year of Freddie McKay's Creation from VP Records in the US. This originally came out in 1979 on the Plant label in the UK and Canada, and on Joe Gibbs Music in the US. Some years ago, before starting my channel, circa 2014, 2015-ish, a friend of mine and I walked into a record fair in town. There was an entire table of nothing but reggae being sold off, and in the bins were not one, but two original copies of this. We had to make a beeline for the cash machine, grab as much as we could afford at the time. It was a mix of originals and reissues, but this one was one of the originals were there, but it was one of the pricier ones. There was a lot of stuff that was 10 or 20 bucks. That one was about 50, probably still not a bad deal at that time. It's probably gonna run you more if you can find a copy now, but for that amount of money, I had to make some choices. I was able to get a couple or three other records for the price of that one, so neither one of us ended up getting a copy of Freddie McKay's Creation. I've regretted it ever since, so it's finally back in print again. Freddie McKay was a kind of lesser known Jamaican singer who nonetheless has a devoted fan base. I remember many years ago in the 90s on the Blood and Fire message board, there was a guy from Germany, I believe, who was a big Freddie McKay fan, knew everything about him. So the man has his devotees. Wasn't a huge releaser of LPs, maybe more of a singles artist, but the LPs he did put out, of which this was the fourth, are quite tough to obtain, quite pricey to get. His debut album was Picture on the Wall for Studio One. It's a reissue from several years ago. And Creation was his fourth LP, recorded with producer Ossie Hibbert, who is a keyboard player in the Revolutionaries house band at Channel 1, as well as being a talent scout and kind of a ghost producer, arranger who had a side hustle doing his own productions in between working for other producers, and this was one that he produced with the singer Freddie McKay. The title track, Creation, is a cover of Burning Spear's Creation Rebel, also covers Dennis Brown's Here I Come, and mixes them in with some original songs. The plaintive, pensive Nah Make It Look So, and all tracks are followed by dub versions. It's a showcase LP. Freddie McKay's Creation, singer with a somewhat mournful, melancholy timbre, quite an emotional singer, never quite got his due at the time, and sadly passed away very young in 1986. But the recordings he did leave behind still quite highly prized by collectors. That's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Fat City Spinout. I've got some more videos in the pipeline, including a spotlight on Ras Records coming up at some point. Like the Fredlocks one, that came out quite a bit longer than I was anticipating. It's just shy of an hour, I think, so don't feel under any obligation to watch that unless you're interested and you have time. Then by all means, check it out. But thanks for watching. Hope everyone's out there doing well, enjoying their summer. Until next time, take care.